Where can you find gourmet organic coffees, a friendly hometown atmosphere, and beautiful views of Humboldt Bay and beyond? It's Has Beans Cafe, open every day at 2nd and I Street in the heart of Old Town Eureka. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. This is Charles Douglas of the Humboldt Sentinel here at the Access Humboldt Media Center in Eureka. As part of our Sentinel interview series, we're speaking with the Arcata City Council candidates, but we can't fit them all into one show. There are 7 candidates on the ballot in Arcata this November, and today we're speaking with 3 of them. Robert Benson, a free citizen, Josh Mohland, a technical consultant, and Dave Meserve, who previously served on the Arcata City Council between 2002 and 2006. Please do tune in and find out where these candidates stand on public safety, housing, and whether Arcata is becoming so gentrified it's hard for working class folks to be able to afford to live there. And keep tuning in. We also have Fortuna City Council candidates coming up between now and Election Day on November 2nd. And don't forget the deadline to register to vote is coming right up. Keep tuning in to Sentinel interviews every Thursday at 7, as well as replaying on Sundays at 3:30 p.m. and Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m. on Access Humboldt Channel 12. And you can always tune in for on-demand interview series on youtube.com/Humboldt Sentinel. Robert Benson, thanks so much for coming down to Has Beans today.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Great. Please let the folks know at home and on the internet, why are you running for Arcata City Council?
Well, I think that there's a disconnect in what the will of the people and some of City Council, and I'd like to bridge that gap.
And what do you say you're really hoping to accomplish tangibly if elected over the next 4 years for Arcata?
I would like to see maybe some sort of a police review commission established. I think that there's been abuse of police power in the name of downtown businesses that's ruined not only the reputation of the city but the hospitality of the city. And I'd like to see that change. I think that in the long run will affect Arcata negatively.
And of course, jumping right into that, the Arcata General Plan adopted 10 years ago said Arcata should set up either a police review commission process or hire an independent police ombudsman. The County Board of Supervisors since then voted to establish a law enforcement committee. While it doesn't have full review commission powers, does set up a process to review the policies, practices, and procedures of the Sheriff's Department, and it also does invite the local cities. They want to send 1 or 2 representatives to incorporate their own police departments in that process. Do you think Arcata having its own police commission versus working with the county in a larger multi-jurisdictional commission, which way do you think Arcata should go?
Well, I think both would be beneficial. It seems like the countywide run is, the countywide commission is still dominated by insiders from the police forces. And I still don't feel as though there's any real review. It's kind of like me reviewing my friend who's damaged you. You know, there's a conflict of interest, and that's another issue I have around here. It seems like there rarely is an interest unless there is a conflict of interest, and that goes with many levels of local politics. You know, from the county to the Arcata City. And
now, as far as Arcata's economic development, obviously they can point to some success in attracting a light industry out there in their whole newly zoned Alder Point Industrial Park area. At the same time, though, Arcata's become a lot less affordable for working class folks to even live in anymore. I know personally I had to move away because I couldn't afford it anymore. Do you think gentrification has become a problem for Arcata?
Yes. And that is probably the main impetus for me to get involved in public participation is I've been victimized by that process, and I know what it's like, and they seem to take all your avenues of redress away from you preemptively, and it's really a very frustrating situation. And you know, I just think I think there's got to be a better way, you know, and I think it's just more about accountability and public participation. That's you know, I think the city could even be close to being fined. I've heard some talk about there could be fines levied due to the fact that they don't have enough low-income housing. And you know, Arcata's a beautiful place, but it's not Santa Barbara. You know, it doesn't have LA right next to it. You know, if you get rid of the poor people, there's not going to be this huge influx of rich people coming in to cater to the few businesses that seem to influence the policy of Arcata. And you know, I just think that those you know, Arcata's, you know, kindness has been its bread and butter, so to speak. You know, I think that that's what is going to attract people and make the city a better place to be, you know, for everybody. You know, because you know, when you discriminate, you know, bad things happen. It's not American, and it's not fair. And abusing police power to just get a certain class out of the city, I think, is abusive, illegal, and I don't even think it benefits the city in the long run. I think it makes a couple entities feel better, maybe about how their you know, their bottom line may look, but I think they're even you know, to coin Tad's phrase, I think they're even shooting their own foot. And you know, a lot of the money that was in Arcata, you know, I don't think it's there anymore. You know, I think a lot of people would just rather go somewhere else, like Mendocino or, you know, Laytonville, or, you know, people are just avoiding Arcata, it seems like. You know, I've gotten emails from around the country about the reputation that, you know, Arcata's gotten Nazi.
Well, Arcata Council, in a pretty close vote, 3-2, did adopt that anti-panhandling ordinance. But after the local civil rights folks basically put them on notice that you know, it's going to land them in court more than likely, they basically adopted this attitude of, we're not going to actually hand out tickets, but the Arcata police started going to verbally sort of pressure people with that law. Why pass a law and not fully enforce it?
Whether they're fully enforcing it, I don't know. I know that they have enforced it. They are enforcing it, but they're enforcing it in a discriminatory manner. They've allowed the firefighters to go out on their boot drive, you know, raising money for Jerry's Kids, which is a commendable issue, but you know, when you don't let a certain class panhandle, and then you let firefighters run out there and run up to cars, I mean, you know, I mean, they were doing things that, you know, your regular panhandler wouldn't have done. And, you know, that just went off without a hitch, you know, so they're allowing certain entities to panhandle, and, you know, and these aren't even real people, you know, they're allowing, you know, organizations to panhandle and not allowing a certain class of individual. And more to that 3-2 vote, you know, Alex Stillman recused herself when they were drafting, when they were passing the drafting of that ordinance. And then she decided not to recuse herself for the actual vote. And I can't help but note that if she would have maintained her recusal, which to my understanding would have been the legally correct thing to do, it would have not have passed. And that seemed to have been the last straw. At that point, it's like I think people just got the picture. Listen, Arcata doesn't want us anymore, and it's time to go somewhere else. And that's just a shame. I think it's a shame for the city, and it's a shame that I can't say it's a shame for the people because they didn't seem to support it. It seemed to have been just, 2 or 3 people on the council, and maybe some downtown organizations.
Well, if you look at the net worth of the Arcata City Council members put together versus the net worth of your average Arcadan, there's pretty wide gulf. Do you think there's an issue where the Arcata has a ruling class?
Well, yeah. That I haven't really thought about it, a ruling class so much as there's a few players with a lot of ammunition, and they don't seem to be afraid of using it in any manner that they can to effectuate their policies.
Another way to say it would be those who own the city are governing it.
Yeah, and I guess there's a long history of company towns around here, and I think this area has been kind of unchecked, and in a lot of ways that's good. I believe in local autonomy, within constitutional boundaries, and I'm even for, a more local interpretation of what those constitutional mandates could be, as far as if it leans more towards the rights of the people, but when those rights of the people are getting violated for the benefit of corporations, and that's not what the intent of government is. The intent of government is to preserve rights of the people and not corporations. Corporations are to be regulated, and I believe that regulation can go into size, which I commend Arcata's limitation on corporations. I think that could, I'd like to see that go into the cannabis issue myself. I'd hate to see that be taken over by corporate interests. I think that should be a people's right and not a corporate right. They can't patent an herb. I don't think they have much business with it, or at least it should be limited. In the future. This is all speculative. But I do like it's kind of a dichotomy. They want to limit corporations, yet they act worse than corporations, and it's almost like it's creating a situation where they might be making people want to see those corporations because maybe they'll act more judiciously.
Well, whether it's by corporations or small businesses, how do you think Arcata can best foster the creation of living wage jobs, and what would you do about that in the next 4 years?
Well, I think that there could be some industry brought into the area. There's a lot of talk, there's a lot of momentum behind green jobs, and Arcata's very creative. They've used that creativity, I think, in a negative way on some issues, but nevertheless, it's creative. And I'd like to see that expounded upon, and there's a lot of opportunity for green jobs, and there's a lot of opportunity for growth around here. There is a workforce. It's just nobody wants to see things blow up into like in a big industrial area, that's going to toxify the area. But I think the focus should be green jobs and tourism. I think tourism, instead of making this place inhospitable, it seems to me that this is a perfect place for tourism. And there's a barrier for transportation getting up here, but this is a beautiful place, and it's beautiful a lot of the year, and minus maybe some of the rain.